We're diving into how universities can connect better with their local communities, especially rural areas. The research you sent over about that Australian program is fascinating. They
Yes.
use sports to build bridges between a university and rural primary schools.
Mm.
I mean, what did you find most interesting about that?
I think for me, this program is a great example of actually seeing those educational theories in action.
Okay.
It's aiming to address equity and social justice,
Right.
in education with this focus on improving learning outcomes for these disadvantaged students,
Yeah,
which I think is a really important goal.
absolutely. And this study focuses on the Gippsland region of Victoria, Australia.
hmm
Can you give us a little bit of background on this area and why this program was even needed there?
Yeah, Gippsland is a largely rural area,
Okay.
and they're facing some socioeconomic challenges. The study really highlights a few key issues that were sort of the driving force behind this whole program.
Mm.
One of those is the lack of specialist PE teachers in a lot of these rural schools.
Oh, wow.
Some schools have had to actually outsource physical education, which can be quite expensive.
So it sounds like this program was designed to try to fill those gaps and provide more equitable access to physical education for these rural
Yeah,
students.
exactly.
Um,
And they use a pretty creative approach to doing it.
yeah.
They called it the Friday Sports Program.
Okay.
Essentially, they brought together year 5 and 6 kids from 6 different rural primary schools.
Wow, 6 schools. That must have been a huge logistical challenge.
Oh, absolutely.
How did they even begin to structure this program?
Well, they let the kids choose a sport that they were interested in.
Okay.
Then the students from all the different schools, they were mixed into groups,
Gotcha.
and they got to, learn and play together for 5 weeks.
It seems like this program is going way beyond just providing sports instruction.
Yeah.
It's like creating opportunities for these kids to interact,
Mm.
learn from each other, and maybe
Mhm.
even foster the sense of community that might not have existed before.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's, and this program had some really unique features that made it stand out.
Okay.
The university played a huge role here. They
Right.
provided all the necessary equipment
Wow.
and had their student teachers actually lead the sessions.
Cool.
They also partnered with a local sports center to use their facilities.
Oh, nice.
And all of this came at no cost to the schools.
Talk about a win-win situation.
Absolutely.
University students are getting this valuable, practical teaching experience. The schools are getting quality PE instruction,
Mm.
and the kids are getting to experience new sports and make new friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Were there any aspects of how this program was structured that you found particularly, I don't know, innovative or surprising?
One of the things that sort of surprised me was how they handled the choice of sports. While some schools fully embraced that student-driven approach,
Yeah.
letting the kids pick what interested them,
Yeah.
others seemed to kind of just make these uh, random selections,
Huh.
almost as if they weren't fully invested in the idea.
Oh, that's interesting. Makes you wonder if there were maybe some underlying factors there, like
Yeah.
hesitation or skepticism from maybe some school administrators towards the program.
hmm
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think it highlights the importance of getting buy-in from all the stakeholders.
Right,
When you're implementing these kinds of programs,
for sure.
even with a great idea, you really need everyone on board for it to truly succeed.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and it wasn't always easy.
Yeah,
Um, they had to be really flexible and figure things out as they went along.
right. So it sounds like, I don't know, a lot of their success came from being adaptable and really building those strong relationships with the schools.
Oh, absolutely. They had, regular meetings with school administrators to discuss logistics and, address any concerns.
Okay.
But they also, really made an effort to, build those personal connections with teachers and staff.
Yeah, I feel like it's those personal connections that can really make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to discuss logistics in a formal setting,
Yeah.
but it's another thing to really build that rapport and trust on a more personal level.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they found that by, fostering these relationships, they were able to create this more collaborative atmosphere.
Yeah.
Where, everyone felt comfortable sharing their perspectives and, working together to find solutions.
That makes sense. It sounds like they were able to strike a good balance between having this clear vision for the program, but
Yeah.
also like being adaptable enough to accommodate the needs of, all these different partners.
Yeah.
Did they mention any like specific examples of how they like adapted the program based on, feedback from the schools?
Yeah. One example that comes to mind is how they addressed, the whole transportation challenge.
Okay.
For the schools that were further away, they realized they couldn't rely solely on the schools to provide transportation.
Yeah.
So they started exploring, alternative options like partnering with local community organizations who had, vans or buses available.
Oh, that's cool. That's like a great example of how they were able to like think outside the box and
Mhm.
find those creative solutions.
Yeah.
Did they offer any insights into like how they navigated the whole funding challenge?
Well, they acknowledged that securing funding was, an ongoing battle,
Right.
but they emphasized the importance of, diversifying their funding sources.
Okay.
So, they explored the traditional grant opportunities,
Right.
but they also reached out to local businesses and community organizations
Right.
to see if they'd be willing to sponsor the program.
So they really tapped into that like power of community support
Yeah.
to make this program happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a good reminder that sometimes those most innovative solutions come from like thinking beyond those traditional channels
Mhm.
and embracing like the collective resources of the whole community.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about getting funding.
Yeah.
It was also about building that sense of shared ownership.
Right.
And those local businesses and community organizations invest in a program like this.
Yeah.
They become stakeholders.
Yeah.
Have, a vested interest in seeing it succeed.
Right. It creates this ripple effect where like the success of the program isn't just like the responsibility of the university or the schools,
Mhm.
but it becomes like a shared goal for the entire community.
Exactly. And that kind of brings us to another really fascinating aspect of this whole study,
Okay.
which is how this program actually addressed a whole range of those educational goals
Hmm.
that are outlined in the Australian curriculum.
Right.
They're not just talking about physical education here.
Yeah.
These goals emphasize things like community partnerships, quality teaching, student development, and, promoting this positive image of education within the community.
It's so cool how this program, like focused on sports, can
Yeah.
have these like broader implications. Can you elaborate on that a little more? Like how they connected this program to these like bigger educational goals?
Well, they really saw this Friday sports program as more than just about sports. It was a way to actually put those educational goals into action.
Okay.
So, by partnering with the schools and that local sports center, they were strengthening those community ties.
Okay.
By providing, that practical experience for their student teachers, they were supporting quality teaching. And by offering those engaging sports activities, they were enhancing the students' development and, fostering this more positive view of education.
It's amazing how something like as simple as sports can be such a powerful catalyst for change.
Hmm.
It's like a reminder that sometimes those most effective solutions aren't necessarily the most complicated ones.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
This program is a testament to the power of, creative thinking and collaboration.
Yeah.
They took, this common interest sports and used it to create this program that benefited everyone involved.
It sounds like they were really successful in connecting this program to like those broader educational goals.
Yeah.
Did the study like delve into any specific examples of how this program like promoted that positive image of education within the community?
Right.
Because that seems like, I don't know, a less tangible outcome,
Hmm.
but like potentially very impactful.
You're right. It is less tangible.
Yeah.
But they did observe this shift in attitudes. Remember how we talked about how some schools were initially hesitant or even dismissive of the program?
Yeah.
Well, after witnessing the positive impact it was having on their students,
Okay.
their perspective started to change.
So it's like seeing is believing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense that once they saw the program like in action
Yeah.
and witnessed the benefits firsthand,
Mhm.
that their doubts would like fade away.
Absolutely.
Did they mention any like specific examples of this change in attitude?
They didn't provide any specific quotes,
Okay.
but they did mention that, teachers and parents and even community members were praising the program,
Mm-hmm.
kind of informally.
Oh, okay.
So it seems like the program's success kind of spoke for itself,
Right.
changing minds and opening up those new possibilities for collaboration.
It's almost like this program, like, planted a seed,
Hmm.
and now it's up to the community to, like, nurture it and see what grows from it. Did the study offer any, like, insights into how to ensure that, like, programs like this can be sustained over time?
Yeah, they emphasize that this type of program is like most effective when it's seen as the starting point,
Oh,
not just like a one-off event.
gotcha.
They stress the need for like continued communication and collaboration
Okay.
between, the university and the schools and the community.
Okay.
And, they highlighted like building a network of support, securing long-term funding,
Yeah.
and adapting the program to meet the evolving needs of the community.
Yeah.
Those were all like crucial factors for sustainability.
So it's not just about, like, launching the program. It's
Right.
about creating this, like, sustainable ecosystem
Hmm.
where it can, like, thrive and evolve over time.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Did they have any other, like, recommendations for, people looking to implement similar programs?
Yeah, they had some great advice.
Okay.
They recommended starting small and like focusing on building those strong relationships.
Yeah.
Just
Right.
don't try to do too much too soon.
Yeah.
Start with a manageable scope and like build trust gradually.
It's good advice. Start small, build trust, and, like, grow organically.
Exactly. And they also encourage program developers to be like mindful of the specific needs and challenges of their own communities.
Okay.
What works in one context might not work in another.
Yeah.
So like careful planning and adaptation are essential.
So it's about, like, being responsive to that, like, local context rather
Yeah.
than trying to, like, impose this one-size-fits-all solution. That's a valuable insight. Any other, like, parting wisdom from the study?
Yes, and this is a really important one. The authors like strongly advocated for involving students in the planning and implementation process.
Oh, I love that, giving students a voice.
Mhm.
After all, they're the ones who are ultimately going to benefit from these programs, right?
Precisely. And, by empowering students to be those active participants,
Yeah.
you not only increase their engagement, but you also gain valuable insights into like their needs and their interests.
So it's about creating that sense of ownership
Yeah.
where, students feel like they're, like, part of something bigger than themselves,
Yeah.
and they're more likely to, like, invest their time and energy.
Absolutely. And that in turn, increases the likelihood that these programs will have like a lasting impact.
So this study really highlights the power of, like, a creative approach, right?
Yeah.
Using sports to bring a university and those rural schools together, and,
Mhm.
ultimately everyone involved benefits.
Absolutely.
It's inspiring to see how, like, collaboration and hands-on learning can really make a difference.
This case study, it's really about recognizing how interconnected, education, community, and personal growth truly are.
Right.
And that kind of brings us to like a really thought-provoking question.
Oh, here's where it gets really interesting.
This program focused on primary schools, but it makes you wonder, what are the possibilities for applying similar models to other age groups or educational settings?
Yeah, that is a great question. Could we adapt this model for, like, high schoolers?
Yeah,
Or even universities?
exactly.
What about using it in different settings altogether?
Huh.
Could sports be a bridge for, like, broader community engagement?
Yeah.
Beyond just schools.
Absolutely.
Like, think about senior centers or community groups or even businesses.
Definitely.
Wow, you've really opened up, like, a whole new world of possibilities here.
Pretty fascinating.
This little program in rural Australia has, like, sparked this chain reaction of ideas.
It has, and it really highlights like the power of a deep dive like this.
Yeah.
It's not just about, absorbing information. It's about sparking those new ideas and asking, what if?
I couldn't agree more. It's been a fantastic reminder that innovation can come from the most unexpected places.
Yeah, and that even those small-scale initiatives can have that ripple effect,
Yeah. Right.
inspiring others to create positive change in their own communities.
To wrap things up, this study is a powerful testament to the potential of sports to bridge divides and create meaningful connections.
Absolutely. It's a story of collaboration, creativity, and that unwavering belief in the power of education to transform lives.
And it leaves us with a challenge, doesn't it?
It does.
To look beyond the obvious, to embrace the power of what if, and to find those unexpected bridges that can connect us all.
Food for thought indeed.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Until next time, keep exploring and keep asking those thought-provoking questions.